So today's discussion is going to be on the basic economic problems. So we're going to be discussing the various MCQs, and it will help us kind of like revise the discussion that we've had so far. Let's look at the first question. The diagram shows the change in a country's production possibility curve between year 1 and year 2. So you can see these are 2 years. And if I ask you guys, find me the opportunity cost for year 1 and find me the opportunity cost for year 2, can somebody do that for me? If you want to find out the opportunity cost, remember opportunity cost is the slope. Slope is equal to rise over run. Isn't that true? Which is going to be 100 or change in y or change in x, to make it simple. 100 over 50, right? In fact, 100 over minus 50, if you are going from 50 0 to 0 100, so that is going to be minus 2. Yeah. And what about the Amal, what about the slope for next year? It's going to be 150 over 80, right? 150 over 80. Again, slope is negative because downward sloping graph. So we have a number of minus 1.875, right? So when I go from if I look at this, guys, it seems like the slope is such that your opportunity cost is decreasing, right? For one capital good, okay, let's call capital good as K, and let's call this as C. Let's call this K and C, right? So for 1K, it's 2C before. Now for 1K, it's going to be 1.875 C. Isn't that true? Do you all agree? Oh, why is it minus? Minus because जो हम कह रहे हैं ना, अगर आप यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहे हैं, so slope वैसे भी negative होता है, right? So when you go from here to here, rise is positive 100 and run is minus 50. You go from you had 50 of capital goods, now you have 0 of capital goods. So that's why I said minus 50. Got it? So guys, for every capital good, can I say my opportunity cost is decreasing? For every one capital good, it was 2 consumer goods. Now it's 1.875. Can I say that? But if I rewrite this, guys, if I rewrite this equation and I say, okay, what about for 1C? For 1C, now I bring this 2 on the other side. It's going to be half K. Yeah, 1 over 2 is half K, right? Versus this one would be for 1C is going to be, what is 1 divided by 1.875? What is 1 divided by 1.875? Amal, if you have a calculator, 1 divided by 1.875. 0.53K. Thank you. So Amal, my question to you is, for one consumer good, if you're sacrificing half K, now one consumer good, you're sacrificing 0.53K. What is happening to your opportunity cost in terms of consumer goods?
It's increasing.
It's increasing. Very good. So guys, with this working that I've just shown you, where do you think, what do you think is the answer?
C.
C. The opportunity cost of consumer goods has risen. Now, do you guys see the complexity of this question to understand what exactly is AS level economics? First of all, before I explain it one more time, don't worry about it, guys, but do you understand the whole idea of what you're getting into? So far, we were thinking, hey, we've done all this stuff. This is so easy. This is something which was done in O levels, but suddenly now you're seeing the math that I've done right now. So are you able to understand that we are now going into a new area, and that's why it's called advanced level rather than ordinary level to begin with, because you will require some kind of mathematical skills. You will require a lot of practice. You will require um, more attention to details when it comes to A-level economics. Okay. Okay. Let me do this one more time. So, guys, first of all, let's find the slope for these lines. Okay. हमने कहा कि why do we need to find slope for this? Because like they're saying opportunity cost. So are we all happy with the slope value of -2 and -1.875? Is there anyone who has a problem with the slope that I found? If you're okay with the slope, then I can move on to the next part. Are we good to move on with the slope part? Okay, I'm going to take that as a yes from everyone. Okay, then I'm saying this, that remember this, that the slope is opportunity cost of X in terms of Y. This is what we said as well. It's the opportunity cost of X in terms of Y. In other words, for one X or one, how much Y are you losing out, right? So either X tha capital goods. For one capital good, I was losing 2 consumer goods. So I said this, for one capital good, I'm losing 2 consumer goods. Okay, that's what we did in the class. Similarly, for one capital good, I'm losing 1.875 the next year. Okay, so I got myself these, what you call it, opportunity costs. Now I can express my this is my 1K is equal to, so I'm expressing K in terms of C. Why do I remove the minus sign? Because remember, it's a downward sloping graph. Opportunity cost ka matlab hai it's a negative sign anyways. It's a downward sloping graph, so I don't need to worry about minus sign anyways. Make sense, Zainab? Minus means there is an opportunity cost. Do you get it, Zainab? Yes or no? Okay. So is everyone happy with this so far? Are we happy with this part? Is there anyone who has a question about this? Yeah, answer is in minus. I'm just ignoring the minus sign. Don't worry about it. I mean, minus, there's no addition or subtraction happening. So we know this opportunity cost there. Iska matlab hai there is more of X will lead to less of Y to begin with. Okay. A lot of times in A-level, I mean, whenever you see slopes and all that, you will see the minus sign is ignored if you know it's a downward sloping graph. Okay. Then comes the next part, which is this, that can I express this in terms of, this is K expressed in terms of C. Can I express C in terms of K? So if I want to sort of change this, 1K is equal to 2C, but could also be written it, or 1C is equal to half K. Do you get it? So 1K was equal to 2C. You could have written this as well. Okay, you bring 2 on the other side. So 1C will be half K. Or you can say this. This is just math, guys. 1K is equal to 1.875C, or 1C is equal to 1 over 1.875C. 1 over 1.875K. Or in other words, I can write this as 1C is equal to 1 over 1.875 is 0.53 K. And by the way, this can be written as 1C is equal to 0.5 K. Okay, so year 1 May, the opportunity cost was 1C is equal to 0.5 K. Now it's going from 1C is equal to 0.5 K to 1C is equal to 0.53 K. Do you get it? Which means for opportunity cost is increasing for consumer goods. For capital goods, it might be decreasing, but for consumer goods, it's increasing. That's exactly what they're saying here. The opportunity cost of consumer goods has risen. Okay, I want to go through all other answer choices as well. How do we know when to do this? You will know it because you will see so many questions. You know exactly what will happen. You see numbers, you'll be like, they've given numbers for 2 years. You got to find the slope. Rania, आपको खुद ही पता चल जाएगा कि you know like इतने numbers दिए हैं, slope का सवाल ही होगा ये. Correct? And the fact that there is opportunity cost of consumer goods written, so I'll be like, oh, I need to find the opportunity cost to actually know whether C is right or wrong. Make sense? And opportunity cost means that you have to find the slope. Okay, let's look at each answer choice, guys. This one says future growth prospects have been harmed. We don't even know how we can make a claim about it being harmed. So this is too much of an information, and there's nothing that can show us. The level of unemployment has fallen. Why is this wrong? Can somebody tell me why is this wrong? Mohammed Ali, the answer to your question is
linear graph.
Mohammed Ali, wait a minute. Mohammed Ali, so do we have to find the opportunity cost whenever the slope is given? And my answer is maybe yes. Most of the time, you may need to find the opportunity cost when numbers are given. Yes, Amal, why is B wrong?
Because this is a linear graph.
No, mere bacha. The reason why B is wrong is because you are not on the curve. Unemployment goes up, then you go under the curve. Remember, unemployment is shown by not on the point of the curve, but a point.
The question says the level of unemployment has fallen, not
The
gone
level
up.
of unemployment has fallen. Makes sense? The level of unemployment has fallen, which means you might have gone, okay, the level of unemployment has fallen, which means that you might go from, I got what you're saying. You might go from then, for example, A to B. Am I right now? Right?
Yes,
So what I'm trying to say is that it won't be shown by the gradient to change. The opportunity cost changing doesn't really mean that it should be a point movement from one point to another point closer to the curve. If it's unemployment going down, if it's unemployment going up, it will be, so B is wrong because of that. Okay. C says the proportionate growth in production is greater in consumer goods. And the idea is this, that you are still not going to be able to find this information because they're saying proportionate growth in production is greater in consumer goods. Yahan se 50 to 80 hua hai, 100 to 150 hua hai, right? And you may say, okay, the proportionate growth in production is greater in consumer goods could be because 150 minus 100 is probably 50%. Okay. And what is 30 over 50?
60%.
60%. So even that statement doesn't really make sense for us. But the idea goes this, that once you know your PPC calculations, you would know the answer is C. And it requires two things right now. Number one, you need to understand the idea that you need to find the gradient. Then you need to find the opportunity cost of not one good, but of the other good. And that's how you are able to find out, because in the answer choice, they said opportunity cost of consumer goods. If they had written opportunity cost of capital goods, then you do not need to do the second step of the calculation. Can't we just eliminate the wrong answers in these questions instead of doing the working? And my answer is Zunubia. Yes, you can, but it's safer to do the working. Durishavar, the reason why I'm saying this is because for every 1C, it was 0.5K. You were losing 0.5K. Now for everyone, you're losing 0.53. So 0.03 ka increase hua hai. Does that make sense? So there's a rise in opportunity cost. Does that make sense? Guys, you guys have to mute yourself. And if you are not going to mute yourself, I can mute you and then do not allow you to unmute, which I've done right now because I don't want people to have sounds coming. So I've right now unmuted yourself, muted you guys, and without the permission to unmute. Raza, are you here with us? Hi, Raza, how are you feeling? Raza, can you do me a favor? Can you hold a tutorial on PPC with these kids whenever you get a chance? Okay, tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, great. Just send them all an email and do the concepts rather than past papers. Okay, guys, moving on. If we move on, okay, let's look at this one. The diagram shows the production possibility curve of an economy. Which statement explains the shape of this curve? Can somebody tell me the answer to this one? Anyone who can tell me the answer for this one? This is what we call a concave to the origin PPC. Here, you can see the opportunity cost or the slope is rising. This is what we call opportunity cost is rising. Isn't that the case we did yesterday? It's called the rising opportunity cost as the slope is becoming steeper. Yes or no? Which means D, the opportunity cost of producing capital goods increases as more of capital goods are made. Is it this one? Exactly. As you make more of any good, be it consumer good or capital good, the opportunity cost will increase because as we go from here to here or here to here, you will realize this that the for every X you getting for every Y that you sacrifice, you're getting less and less of X, or in short, for every X that you sacrifice, you will get less and less of Y. Make sense? So this is why this is called the rising opportunity cost. Okay, let's look at other answer choices as well. More efficient workers are drawn away from the production of consumer goods. And the answer is that honestly, we don't know. We don't know which workers were efficient that are drawn away, but if you move from here to here to here, maybe you can argue this that as consumer goods are increasing, or as if you move from C to B to A, as capital goods are increasing, you will see workers who are probably good at one thing can be drawn away, but the shape in itself is a rising opportunity cost graph, so you don't need to worry about that. Resources cannot be switched between producing capital. No, that's not true. PPC assume we can switch resources. C says the economy is more efficient at producing capital than consumer goods. We don't know. It cannot be proven. But this is a rising opportunity cost graph. We know this, and that's why D is the right answer. Okay. Are we good to move on? Any questions? Should I move on? What's wrong with B? Resources cannot be switched. Resources can be switched. This PPC means you can switch resources at any point in time if you want to. Make sense?
Sir, the curve is getting steeper. So like the less capital goods that we produce, usse opportunity cost zyada nahi ho rahi because it's getting steeper down the slope.
The idea you need to understand, Zanabia, is the idea is this that कि जैसे आप कोई भी चीज बनाओगे ज़्यादा, the more you make of one good, you know, you're making more of one good, Whenever you get minus 10 here, for example, you will get less and less as you go along. Similarly, if I go from A to B to C also, I'll see the same thing to happen. Sorry, somebody else was saying. Amal was saying this. Who was asking this question? Somebody was asking this question. Manahil, sorry, Manahil. I didn't read the name. The name comes in a very small pop-up box, so I somehow capital goods is written twice in D. It's right. The idea they're saying, Manahil, and I mean, sorry, is that as you make more of capital goods, the opportunity cost of capital goods increase, which means for every 1K, you may lose out more of consumer goods, or for every, and it's in this kind of a graph, I can rewrite this also saying this, the opportunity cost of consumer good increases as we make more of consumer goods. So whatever good you're making more of, you will see the opportunity cost of that good to increase. Why? Because you may get less and less of the good for more of the other good that you're sacrificing. Okay? And the reason is very simple, because when you send resources from one use to another, because resources are not equally good and making that good, there will come a point that the resources that you're sending for one good, it might not be good enough, and therefore it might not give you that much of output, and as a result, you might have an increasing opportunity cost. Concave to the origin means it's an increasing opportunity cost. You go from X to Y, or you go from Y to X. Do we get that? So you go from X to Y, which means more of Y. For any X, you will lose out more, or for X to Y or Y to X, you will still see the same thing. Am I going to move on? Okay, let's look at this one. The curve PP in the diagram is the production possibility curve for a country producing good X and Y. The production of X is more labor intensive than production of Y. The working hours of the labor force are reduced by law. So X is more labor intensive, something we did in class as well. X is more labor intensive than Y. X is your labor intensive. Y is more like capital intensive. And the government is reducing the working hours. Who will suffer more? Good X will suffer more, or good Y will suffer more? Good X. Very good. So can I say this? Because there is a reduce in the quality, remember there's a reduce in the quality or quantity of factors of production, PPC will shift backward, right? But in this case, it will shift backward in a non-parallel manner, right? So the answer would be exactly B, which says more of the reduction in output for good X, less of a reduction in output in the other good. Are we good? Make sense? So B is the right answer, exactly. Any questions, guys? Are we good to move on? Areeb, remember we said this, that जब कभी भी आपका X आपका labor intensive था, the government is reducing the labor hours. So X is now going to sort of suffer more in terms of productivity, in terms of number of hours. So PPC will shift backward because productive potential will go down. More for X, which is labor intensive, less for Y, which is capital intensive. दोनों गिरेंगे, by the way. Both of them are falling, but it is falling more for X and less for Y. So whenever there is a if they were both labor intensive, then equal fall hota. But because one is labor intensive, one is not, that's why it's more like this kind of a fall. Arif, does that make sense? Arif, are we going to move on? Okay. What about question number 10, guys? Take 1 minute and give me an answer for question number 10. Guys, in this case, the PPC is LM and shifting backward, which means there must be a decrease in the quality or quantity of factors of production. Make sense? If there's a decrease in the quality or quantity of factors of production, the PPC will shift backward. That's why you will go from LM to NP, and that's why the right answer is depletion of natural resources. Okay, somebody was saying some other answer. No, everyone is saying C. Is there any confusion? By the way, what will happen in D? What will happen in D, guys? Will it be a shift or will it be a movement inside? Exactly, good job. So you will go from A to B. Make sense? Exactly. Are we good, guys? Is everyone happy with C? Hamza, you don't get it. Why, Hamza? Why, Hamza? Can you unmute yourself and tell me? I want you to unmute and tell me what's the problem with this.
Sir, I didn't get why couldn't be D. Won't the curve still move inwards because the quantity of resources being used is decreased?
देखो हमजा इसमें दो चीजें होती हैं. इसमें अगर हमने कहते हैं कि अगर आपने अगर आप इनएफिशिएंट हैं या अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट हो रही है, inefficiency or unemployment leads you to not have the whole PPC shift backward. Whole PPC का मतलब ये है कि आपकी जो total ability है वो affect हुई है. Let's say अगर आपके पास एक बाइक है और आप बाइक चला रहे हैं और वो पंक्चर हो जाए, right? Can you go what do you call it? Can you go from one distance to another? And the answer is no, because suddenly there is a depletion of a tire has happened. So your ability has gone down now. But what if I tell you that you one day decide to not bike fast? So this means your productive potential was this, you did not perform better. Make sense? So the idea what I'm trying to say is that when your PPC is shifting backward, the resource की या तो quality गिर रही होती है या quantity गिर रही है. अगर आपने unemployment की है या underemployment की है या inefficiency की है, तो productive potential तो वही है, लेकिन आपकी performance कम है. Number reallocation of resources. Somebody is saying why not B? Reallocation of resources only results in this to happen. If I was at A, if I reallocate resources, I'm going to go to B. It's a movement along the curve. Higher retirement age means people are retiring later, which means PPC should shift to the right. Got it? Is everyone happy with all the answer choices? In B, there is nothing wrong. In B, you're just reallocating. Reallocate का मतलब है if you're studying math and accounting for 8 hours in a day, you decided to study 2 hours in math and 6 hours for, so you 6 hours for example, accounting, which means you are allocating more hours. B is just a movement. I'm talking about D, Munib. D is underemployment. Underemployment means you go inside the curve. Anytime inefficiency, unemployment goes up, you go under the curve. Now the shift will not happen. Okay. So B is a movement along the curve. D is a movement inside the curve. C is the shift backward of the curve. A is the shift forward of the curve. Are we good? Any questions? Okay, so I'm going to end the class on this note. And what we'll do is we'll continue this MCQ discussion also on Monday before I move on to the last discussion, BPC. And on Friday, I'll ask Raza to have a tutorial with you guys as well tomorrow, so that you guys can also get an opportunity to clear some of the concepts. Okay.